you're here, when you leave, be sure to take signs with you. Be sure to do your part, which means to call your friends and tell them. It seems like it's a long way off the election, but it's not. And we're talking about it. So we need your help. We need your getting other people help. And part of the team that is supporting this meeting tonight, I'd like to introduce Brenda Bird. Say a few words. She's one of the co-sponsors of our event tonight. She's going to talk for a few minutes, and then she'll introduce others.
See this little paper? This was supposed to be my notes. I grabbed the wrong piece of paper.
So just say what's in your heart.
Luckily I did write a few things. I'm like Wayne. I really don't get out in front of elections. I appear at city council meetings very often, and so I really have never gotten involved in the campaigns. I'm compelled though to support Jack and come out and be out in the front. Jack is just the most incredible candidate, and like Wayne said, we are so fortunate to have him running, being willing to run, and we also have to thank Joanne for letting him do this because it is a real task. It is it's a sacrifice, just quite frankly. And Jack and I served on the Downtown Investment Authority for a number of years, and I found that Jack was always well prepared. He came, he had done his homework, he asked really extremely smart and relevant questions, and I know that that's the kind of city council member that he will be. He and Joanne have put their money where their mouth is. They are strong supporters of historic preservation. They're strong supporters of the arts. And what I think will make Jack just the most superb council member is his background in finance. And that he is really understands so much better. He comes with an innate 50-year experience of understanding financial statements, understanding accounting, understanding when you look at something whether or not it makes sense. That's his job, that's his career. We need somebody like that on the council. And so I am just, so glad to support him, so willing to be out here in front of the world and supporting him because I really believe in him. And I think our city needs him. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
I won't run off. Ron, come on up.
Ron? Carla couldn't get here with a traffic problem, and I think he had.
Ron's here.
Is Ron? Well, he was here. He was here.
He may have had to call.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just introduce Jack. Everybody knows this guy.
Yeah.
Jack Meeks.
Well, after those somewhat fulsome introductions, and thank you for that, I feel like we should just sing the Hallelujah chorus and go home. So I guess a couple of things I'd like to say, and then as part of my 50-year CPA career, by the way, can you hear me? I know I don't have the biggest voice in the world. My wife tells me to speak up. She doesn't tell me that when we're talking with each other, but when I get in a crowd, she says, speak up. That one of the aspects of my career, 30 years of it or so, was being an expert witness in financial disputes. And so one of the things that I had to do was ask questions and answer questions. And so unlike, I guess, some aspiring or actual politicians, I don't mind answering questions. So I want to move to that pretty quickly. But a couple of things I did want to say, and I'm appreciative of your being here tonight, taking time out of your busy schedules. Everybody's busy. And I get asked a lot why I'm doing this. And certainly, I'll tell you this, without Joanne, I would not be doing this. Let me say, without Joanne, she did tell me, and I was saying that the other day, she did say, well, it was your decision. Yes, but without you, I wouldn't be doing it. And if we weren't in my neighborhood, our neighborhood, I wouldn't have had some of the experiences that I had, and I wouldn't be doing this. One of the aspects, though, and this is more emotional, is a sense of gratitude. I came to Jacksonville by the time this election takes place 50 years ago, and my parents had both died by the time I was 19 years old. I didn't have any contacts here. I didn't have any people to really push me along from the standpoint of a family or something. And yet I met people here over the years, some of whom, as we sometimes the pastors in the Presbyterian church, I'm a Presbyterian, talk about going to the church triumphant, that they've died. But there were a lot of people who really helped me over the years advance my career, whether it was the first people I worked with at the firm I first came to work with, or whether it was the clients I've had. And so in this somehow somewhat mysterious, in a lot of ways, unexpected way of my doing this now, it's a sense of gratitude for the people who've helped me and the city that's given me an opportunity to have a career and have a life and ultimately have my wife, Joanne. So with that, and given all this praise I've gotten, I started thinking they were talking about somebody else besides me. Let me entertain any questions that you might have.
What's the average weight of the American bald eagle?
Well, I'll tell you this. We have a little cabin in Nassau County. We have some bald eagles that we get to see periodically. And I didn't know this until I got to see them, that the female is bigger than the male, considerably so. I don't know.
Don't you like a man who can take a question like that out of left field and sort of answer it?
Yeah, sort of answer it.
11 and a half pounds.
Okay, good to know. The next time I've asked that.
Jack, I have a question. Can you explain what your role will be as council member at large?
Well, it's, we have this interesting city, interesting in a lot of ways, with Jacksonville and Duval County being synonymous or consolidated. So we have 19 city council people, 14 of whom run in and represent a particular district. So Joanne and I live in District 7, and we have a council person in District 7, and only the people in District 7 vote for that council person. There are 5 at-large seats, which means I'm running for what's called Group 5, and I'll run against people in my geographical area. This county split up into 5 geographical areas, but I'm running county-wide. So one aspect, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to be an at-large, it gave me, at least in my perception, more ability or more opportunity to look at across the whole county and not be just focused on one particular district. So as an example, if, and I've obviously talked to city council people about this, if a constituent, one of our citizens calls me and says, I got a pothole in my street. Well, the first question is going to be, okay, and who's your council person? Maybe I can encourage them to do something about that. If not, then I'm going to have to get involved in it. But hopefully, it will give me more of an opportunity to look broadly across the whole county, and particularly at our financial circumstances. Because I was surprised at some of the issues we have in our finances for the city that presented a lot more things that I think need to be fixed and a lot more of an uncertainties about our finances than is acceptable to me.
Who can vote for you?
Whole county.
Everybody in the county.
Everybody in the county.
Here, it has nothing to do with any particular district. We all are going to vote for you.
Absolutely.
We're going to get all our friends to vote for you.
I sure would appreciate it.
I have a question for you. My wife and I recently came back from a 5-month trip out west, and we were able to go to some incredible places. The national parks are just spectacular. But when we went to small towns, people gravitated to what was unique to that town. And many of those towns nurtured their historic districts. Have you thought about what you could do for the historic districts in Jacksonville?
Well, we've had, my wife and I have had going on 20 years thinking about that and doing things about it. So we started, and I like to say, Joanne's smarter than I am, and she's more perceptive. And so she acts like she knew what we were getting involved in when we bought our old 1890s house. I thought we were just buying an old home and moving into an historic district. But what we found out is when we restored our house, that our home, that it really is addictive to see these old properties, some of which would probably be lost, and see them brought back to life. Now, I would like to see more people addicted to that. And so other people, because we've done projects in our neighborhood, and most recently, I think I was mentioning to one or more of the people here tonight, we did Alena Flats, which is right across from the Catholic Church. It's a 4-unit apartment building. A number of you have been in that when we opened it up in 2019, but it's now, and I'd say it's been the hardest project we've done. So we thought a lot about historic restoration over the last 20 years.
I'd like to ask a question. So since I retired from the city, I've got more and more involved in environmental issues, being concerned about climate change, being involved with the Riverfront Parks Now issue. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you see as your role on the council when it comes to the river, our environment, our resiliency, issues about heat? We've just completed the most extensive heat map that's ever been done for a city in the United States. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because that's a really high priority for a number of us in our city that are worried about decisions that are being made for developers that are not in the interest of the community and the environment.
You reckon? You reckon that's, yeah. Well, again, I keep going back to Joanne. I've gotten a real education in environmental matters because Joanne is on for the Nature Conservancy, she's on the Board of Trustees for Florida. So I've gotten to go places, go to meetings, hear things that I otherwise wouldn't have got to hear. That's given me a greater sense of awareness that I would have otherwise had. Plus, in our neighborhood, all I've got to do to see issues that affect our city is walk over and take a look at Hogan's Creek. And of course, now groundwork, where Joanne has, she's going to rotate off being the chair at the end of this year so she can be real actively involved in our campaign. She has been already. But it was interesting to me because once we got to our neighborhood, it became imperative that I start interacting with our elected officials, which means give them money. And that was the way to get their attention, is to give them money. And so I would have them come to our neighborhood, and one of the things that I would typically show them was Hogan's Creek. And it was amazing to me. I just take them down to Laura, where Hogan goes under Laura Street. And it was amazing to me how many people had worked downtown for decades and had never come up that street to see what Hogan's Creek looked like. So not only have I gotten input from Joanne's association with the Nature Conservancy, but all I have to do is walk down the street from our office or a couple of blocks from our home, and every day I can see Hogan's Creek and what it looks like now, what I hope it will look like if groundwork is able to do all the things that they're planning to do. It will be a new day for Hogan's Creek. One more comment about that. You know, we now have, and I haven't met her, but I've heard really good things about the lady who's our resilience officer. We passed on, so understand, some years ago, we passed on a grant to hire that person or a person and didn't do it.
I was there in the council chamber when they voted in.
You know, that doesn't show a whole lot of intelligence to me.
Jack, what thoughts have you given to workforce housing?
You know, there's definitely a role for that. And one of the things, when I was on the DIA, I think we did a pretty good job to get workforce housing in the downtown area before the prices went up and made that even harder to do. One of the conversations I heard from a guy who's done a lot of urban ministry in downtown Atlanta, and one of the differences with this guy is he actually lived where he was providing the ministry. You know, and he talked about housing, that a good mix was to have, I think it was 40% workforce, 40% market, and 20% what I guess I would call, I still think Section 8, there's a better word for that now. You know, that to where we don't just group, every poor person together. There's more of a mixture of people together. But I think we've done a pretty good job of that downtown, but I imagine we need more of that across the city, particularly, one of the things, I don't know what the answer to this is, but I've been reading about it, is the last number I saw in the paper, 25%, I think it was, of our single family homes in Duval County are owned by big investment companies. And in our area, and I'm not sure, when I say our area, I'm not sure that means our zip code or District 7 where we live, the number is 40%. And so I've begun to wonder, are we experiencing monopoly pricing when you have that concentration of ownership? I don't know what the answer is, but I'm probably going away from your question some, Edmund. I met with, everybody know what LISC is? I met with their executive director and their chairman and one other person, I guess in the last couple of months, and they were telling me that we were going to see more and more homeless circumstances with people who just couldn't afford to pay the rent. So